Hi, Sarah Poff, the multimedia storyteller, just here to tell another story. This time we're going to have some football fun. So get ready, it's coming. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. We're going to paint a painting in about an hour, and it's going to be about football. Now, you can choose to put your favorite team in. I put my favorite team in, so we'll see how this goes. I hope you'll follow along. I use the canvas board. You are welcome to use stretch canvas if you want, or you could use paint on wood or something else. It'll go good. It'll go good. There's many ways to do this. Let's see, I use just the great big containers of paint. I stick with a lot of the basic colors, red, yellow, blue, black, and white. Now sometimes I do add in brown because, especially when I have a big brown item in it, but brown's a little hard to mix. I use my Corel plates for my paint palette. And then at the end I can take two of them, tape it up, and my paint will last a little while that way. All right. So I've got my items strung out on here. Let's see, and then I have just multiple kinds of brushes. You know, there might be a brush that's better for this or better for that. However, I don't want you to feel confined to the fact I don't have a number 2 brush and that number, you know, it's round and all that. I don't want you to be upset and not paint because you don't have that. So that's kind of how I start trying to do these. Now, let's see, I'm going to move this to the side. So we want to paint this quickly. So we're going to paint and then we'll be blow drying some of the sections. All right, so I'm going to think about my ball, my football first. You know, what space does my football take up? Now I had to work really hard at this, trying to figure out an angle that worked, and I think it was because I tried to make it straight to this point, and it didn't work very good that way. So what I did is I found out I had to do something like this on it. So just a little bit of a line there. So we'll leave that for the brown, and we're going to do some green across here. And then we're going to just paint all of this gray above, except where we want those signs to be. And then we'll do the dots on top of that. So then I want a couple of rectangle boxes. Now if you want to measure your boxes, you may do that. I just go for it with pencil. If you do little sketchy marks, then that kind of helps, because that way you don't have to, you know, if it's not as precise as you want, you can kind of just shore it up a little bit later. All right, and then I want a little piece right here that I want brown. All right, I'm going to start with that gray. And I'm going to use a fairly big brush because I want to go fast, because we want to try to get this painting done in about an hour. That's our goal, in about an hour. So I'm going to bring a little bit of black over to my white. And I'm going to bring it over here. Oh, that's a lot of black. I'm going to mix a lot of white in there. I'm going to dip it in the water. Since we're trying to make this quickly, I don't want a lot of water, but once in a while a little bit helps out. And I'm going to make this kind of thin. We'll be painting on top of it. It's mostly to have a base color there in case we don't get dots on every little spot in the background, the dots that represent the people. I had fun a few years ago making a great big picture with all the dots in it. I was retiring from school, and all the children at my school, they were able to put a dot in my painting that represented them. So much fun. So this painting could be made for your local team. This could be a painting that you could do for the sports teams around you. Sports teams around, you know, the Chiefs, or it's the football team around me. And we're always excited when they win. It's been nice lately for them to being on a winning streak. We just hope it keeps going for a while. All right. Now I want to look at this again because like I said, when I was working on this, I just felt like I had to really work to get it right. So I'm going to bring this actually down a little more. Am I the perfect at painting? Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I just keep going and keep trying. Sometimes I rub the paint off. And that's what I want you to feel free to, it's okay if it's not perfect. It's about trying and it's about gaining new skills. This might be fun to have a little football party. And some of the people there could be painting. Who knows, maybe even the children would like to join in on this one. All right, now I'm going to go for my football. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to draw. I don't really need to draw. I'm just going to leave that spot there for the white part, the part around the lace up, because that'll be easier than if I were to go, try to make layers over it later. So I'm going to just draw like this. I'm going to move my water over here. Just so I have a little bit of guideline as to where I want the brown to be and where I want the white to be. And then I want the white down here. So I'm going to do a brown line and a brown line. And then the white will be in the middle of that. All right, that'll help. That'll help. Now I'm going to switch back to my bigger brush. Because to be able to get these paintings done quickly, we have to have bigger brushes for a lot of it. And then we need to use our blow dryer too. Fill in the spot, fill in the spot. That's what I'm doing, is filling in the color. There's always the camp of the people who say, well, you should just be able to color outside of the box all the time. And I'm like, I had a difficult time teaching some of the children that, because the saying means that you want to be creative. It's not about having all these white spots in your artwork that you never even stop to paint in or to color in with the crayons. And that was just so hard to teach sometimes. It just really was. I remember a lot of different instances that was a hard concept to get across. Now there is a pattern, you can put some patterns in the back that include some white spots, and that looks fine, but it's about having some rhyme or reason in what you do. The positive and negative shapes, you don't want the negative shape behind, the negative color behind. to come out and just like hit us in the face and go, oh, oh, because there's something nice about how when you take care of that negative space, it just kind of blends it down. Sometimes when I'm painting on a line, I have to concentrate a little more than other times. So in the comment sections, how about telling us your favorite team? What is your favorite team? Be it a national football team, a college team, maybe it's just your one at your high school or the school within the area that you live now. That was my favorite time to watch football, was when I was at my hometown. My dad was a teacher, and so he and some of the other teachers would travel all over the district when our football players would play. And I would go with him, and it was fun. I liked it because I knew those guys out there on the field. When I came to the city and I didn't know so much about it, it was a little harder. I like the city now, but boy, it just did take a little getting used to for me. This small town girl had a little more trouble with that. The city does have lots of fun things to do and see and learn, and I learned to enjoy those. But the small town girl is still in there somewhere. I have to learn to enjoy both. Now, I've done a number of these for Mid-Continent Public Library, and they're on their YouTube channel. You might share those on your social media if you liked doing these. You might share with Mid-Continent if you like doing my programs. They're always wanting to know feedback on how people like it, if they want to, want more of that kind, or if they'd like some others. And of course, I'd like for you to like mine, but if you need something else, sometimes maybe that's what you need to tell them. So if you have a homeschooler that might enjoy some of these, all right, there's my football. Now I want to paint a little brown across here and little bit of brown there. Okay. I think I'll turn it upside down because that's drier than the football area is. Now you could measure this off if you want. You can take another paintbrush and just do like this, and then you can have a smoother motion. If you have a really long one like this, that works better. Okay. And then I also sometimes use my little pinky as a guide there. So I steady my finger with my little pinky, and I just move the other fingers. And I hope you find what works for you on some of that. Because there's not really a right or wrong, there's just a doing. Just do and find what's best. All right, I'm going to add white to my sign areas. Give them a coat of white. Now on the signs, I did write with a Sharpie on that. You can do paintbrush. Some people have the skills and are able to do that better than others. I did it just because I wanted to say I had done it with that for the painting. Because I know not everybody's used a small paintbrush as much as I have. Back in the 1970s, ribbons were popular, ribbons with your personalized name, your name on it or your monogram on it. And I did hundreds and hundreds of those ribbons that I sold. So, and then the little apples with the teachers' names, I did hundreds and hundreds of those for people and sold it back in the 70s, early 80s. So my hands are a little more practiced than some on that. So you just take your skills and do what you can with it. I'm trying to make this smooth so it'll be easier to write on. Now I'm going to take the hairdryer and blow those dry real quick, and then I'm going to work on some of the people around in this area. But I want to be able to write on those signs where you can see me. And I want to make sure I get those really good and dry before I write with Sharpie on there, because it will mess up the Sharpie, and your Sharpie will no longer work if you get paint on it. So they're nice to use, but you got to be careful with it too. All right. So I want to come up here about this far, and I want to draw the edge of the seating area. I'm going to make it just a little grayer there than the other areas. Okay, I'm going to move this over. I want to test it before I do. I want a little bit more white. It does help if you test things before you use them. Sometimes sometimes I forget. Sometimes it's easy to forget or want to just get it done. But that can cause some headache later. Okay, get a little more black. Okay, now I'm going to blend down into that a little bit of white. Now when I'm getting my paint, I buy the red, yellow, and blue, black and white, and then brown, because brown's harder to come up with. That's too much white there. And if you do get too much, you can always go back and paint again on top of it. But then that just takes some more time. So if you can correct it along the way, that's the easiest. And see what I did is I got a little water, and that just kind of helps it smooth down there. All right. I'll just do a few lines here just to add a little interest in it. And it's all right if on this part, it's all right if you see the texture of the canvas. We don't make it thick enough that we don't see it some places. All right. Now on the background, in the people in the stands, I have been known to use a pencil eraser. I have been known to use brushes. I have been known to cut erasers or a teeny tiny sponge. I've used all of those to do the people. So it's your choice. Let me show you with the pencil what it kind of looks like. Let's see, I'm going to do a few gray, like darker gray in there. So that's kind of what the pencil looks like. And then if I do the paintbrush partly has to do with how much control you have. And sometimes you've got to think about what you're doing a little harder than you do with the pencil. All right, I want to add in some red. I'm just going to leave that black in there. Or I guess it was more like gray, darker gray. I'm just going to do like this. Because we may or may not get all of these in depending on time here. Because I kept looking at it going, oh, it needs more of this color, it needs more of that color. And then the yellow, I put a lot of yellow on the top, and then the last color I added was to do red again. And even if you don't get these perfect, people, I mean, we kind of have an understanding that we've seen pictures like that from way in a distance where we've seen people in the stands. And like we said, this is easy, adaptable for whatever team is your favorite team. Maybe you could paint a little special spot and an enlargement of you on there somewhere. All right. I'm going to do a few bigger grays now. And as you see, it's kind of just a swirl of gray and black. A little white. The white's mixed in there too, of course, because I'm mixing my gray. I did not buy gray. I always mix gray. There's so many different grays in this world. Now, if you were doing a craft project that you wanted a whole bunch of elephants and you wanted it already mixed for you, then the ones that are already mixed might save you time. That's true. All right. Now I'm going to stop and paint the green and the brown down here. I think I'll start with the brown. Okay. Okay, green. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint it all green. And then I'm going to like lightly put the white on top of there for the lines down the football field. Because they kind of fade over time anyway. They go and put the chalk lines down and then the players play and it gets kind of mushy and spreads across there. So I think we'll be all right just to do it this way. I'm going to add just a teeny bit of red and kind of dull this green down just a little bit, not a lot, just a tad. And I may want a little water with this because I'm going to be covering a pretty good size area. Remember, you're trying to not get a lot of water. You want to just dip. You don't want to dip a lot, just not often, just dip some. I'm trying to go back and forth. Now there may be a few spots I fill in otherwise than that, but then I'll come back and make it back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to try and get the corners around the edges there. Because a lot of times I will hang these up in my house without framing. So if I can get the sides, it makes it look a little nicer. Okay, I'm going to give me a small brush so I can get around the edges here. Okay, since this is dry, but watch out if it's not, so try it out before you put your hand just right down on it. That's why I turned it around a while ago. And I try to think how to plan my work on this so that we can do it in that hour time. And hair dryers come in so handy for this. Not just for our hair. I have a thick head of hair, and oh man, back before hair dryers, yes, I'm that old, we didn't have hair dryers. I think I got one for a graduation present from high school, and it wasn't very powerful. With my head of hair, it wasn't quite worth it. It's later when I bought a more powerful one that I understood the use of hair dryers. A blow dryer, should I say, because I understand those hair dryers, I had to sit under them when I was a kid. My hair's not very curly, and curly was the style. And my mother would make me go have a perm. My sister didn't like her curly hair, but she never had to go sit and have perm. I had trouble sitting that long. I don't know about you. Do you have trouble sitting? I have a lot of trouble sitting. I've been known to draw during meetings. I used to go to meetings where it just seemed like they took forever. And so I actually named my drawings that I did during those meetings after that organization. That was my, and I won't mention them. That was the name of that set of paintings. You know, like some of them had a blue phase or whatever like that. The artist would have different time periods. Well, I had that time period. Came up with a lot of drawings during that time. And then what I would do is I'd use those drawings because they were drawings of colonial people. That was what I was into then. And then I would take those drawings. I learned it from at the Nelson Art Gallery and the Thomas Hart Benton display, where he had gone around and painted people's faces as he traveled. And then what he would do is he would put those in his artwork. So it was his original pencil drawings that we were looking at. And it was like, oh wow, I'll collect mine and then I'll do the same. And then I don't have to start from scratch when I'm working on people. So, learning from the old masters. Sometimes we wonder why, you know, they don't have all the modern things we have to collect and do and all, but they had their ways. You'd be surprised at some of their ways. I've listened to a bunch of YouTubes about some of those old masters, and they're pretty smart guys about how to get things done. All right, I'm painting, filling in the spots on this old painting. I'm going to add just a touch of that red green in there because I just feel like that is just too green for me. I want it a little bit darker green. Just needs a few like little areas that are a little bit darker green. See what I did? I just touched the red, touched the green, kind of mix and stamp here so I kind of know what color it is. If you get too much on your painting, you can just add in more colors, or you saw me do it a while ago. I just took the paper towel and wiped some of it off. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. I try not to let those kind of things be a big deal. Sometimes it's a little harder in the personal life than it is in the public life to do that, but I try. All right, I'm going to start the drying process on this a little bit. I want to paint my football again, I think. It's not very even. I think it needs another coat. Now, some people do put I got it too close to the turquoise, didn't I? I told you this stuff happens. It does. And you just readjust and you go on down the road. Put a little more brown there so that I won't be touching that. I'd like to have this brush, so I'm gonna rinse this one out. I've got a little extra water over here so it doesn't affect my dipping water. Oh, there we go. I think it's going to cover it all right. Got most of it wiped off, and then I think this will cover it. I need to buy a football for my house. My granddaughters come over and they're really, the oldest one especially, is really into football. And she wasn't very happy that Granddaddy's football didn't work anymore. I need to put that on my list to buy. Because she told me girls can play football too, right, Grandma? Right. We want to give them opportunity too. Okay, I'm going to also paint this white again. I'm going to switch brushes because there's a little bit of pink in there. There's a little bit of black in there. So I'm using a little piece of paper towel there. All right. I'm going to let that be and paint on something else and let that area just kind of be itself for just a little bit there. See if we can get it straightened back up. Now today, the only color marker I brought with me would be a black. So we're going to write with the black. I did write with red on this one. And I just did the simple Let's Go Chiefs. I did this painting very carefully that way because I don't want to interfere with copyright in any way. Of course, you are welcome on your own to add more. It would be your personal painting. If you want to add more of something, hey, that's fine. But as far as me doing it in public like this, I don't want to. So that's why I chose to do what I did. Now it appears that some of my dots are still wet. So I already got them on my hand. That's why this painting in an hour is sometimes a little difficult on that. We just work around it. All right. Now on the other painting, I made it look like there was a wooden stick holding these up. You could do that, or you could just leave it, look like a banner across there. Have you ever been to a professional football game? That'd be a fun thing to put in the comments. I have, but only once, and it was back in the 1970s, and I didn't live near the Chiefs, so it wasn't Chiefs. I lived on the other side of the state. I don't remember anything about the game much. It was cold. That's what I remember. We were in the nosebleed section, as they called it, and it was so cold. Now the marker, you can see the texture of the canvas here. So to go over this again would be a good thing. I'm going to leave it like that for now, or to paint over it. If I paint over it, I'm going to get a really little brush. And I want to I'm looking right now at all my extra brushes here. I've got to make sure I have one that is pointed enough at the end, or that I can twist and make it that way, that I can make it small. Now sometimes what I do, maybe that would be, because I had scissors in here, I'm pretty sure. Here they are. Sometimes if I don't have a brush that's small enough for me, I take and I just cut it, I just trim it just a little bit on the end there. Just trim it down, especially if it's got those bristles that just kind of hang out. I just cut and get it where I want it. All right, so I'm going to use the black here. I see this kind of part takes a little bit longer. Now, and I use my pinky. I kind of bury my pinky down in the canvas. And then what I'm trying to move is I'm just trying to move my thumb and my pointer and my tall man to make the mark. That's what I'm trying to do. Of course, I'm standing up because I like to present that way. So that adds another layer to this. And it's best to kind of twist the brush around on the edge of the palette to get all those bristles together. And then I dip into my paint off, and when I'm doing something like this. Now those letters look pretty good there. I don't think I'll do anything with those. But I am going to go over this. And then the side of this needs some more. Oh. Okay. Just takes a little time. All right, there we go. Now, if you have a good Sharpie, that's a good thing. Yes, concentrating does not allow for much talking. I'll tell you the best project though, if you have a classroom full of children and you're wanting it to be really, really quiet, of course you have to have children of the age that they can do it, accomplish it. But weaving, once you've taught them to weave, it's really quiet in the classroom for a while because they have to concentrate on that weaving. Now, to get them to the point of everybody being able to weave, that's a different question. Because some catch on immediately or already knew how beforehand, and some struggle the whole way. Kind of like pen and ink, you got to dip it often. Okay. Now I'm going to find my brown brush here. I'm going to make the sign. Oh, just get a different one because I might not have had one that small. Okay. Then that way these will be there and can be partly covered up by our people. I think I'm going to add a few brown since I've got brown. There's some people out there that have a brown coat. Because you want to leave especially the yellow and adding more red. You want those to be on top since those are colors of the chiefs. Well, that's filling it in more. Good. Good deal. Good deal. I'm going to go over that again because that's that spot that I messed up a while ago. All right. So on the white lines, that's something else that's a little bit hard to do with just the paintbrush. There's a couple different options that might work. This is a silver Sharpie. There are some white oil paint pens out there too. If you get a new one and you use a really little one, they work pretty good. However, if you're not careful, they blotch out and then you get a whole big spot. This is a little white pen, and you can see that I can just do like this with it. Of course, it can be done with a paintbrush. I'll do this and then I'll switch to the paintbrush. Let me do a couple rolls with this because this is a lighter. This is getting it in there lighter. And I just try to make the sketchier lines there because we know it's perfect when they first start because they've laid those lines out, and then all of a sudden the guys get in there and the lines just go, the powder from the lines just go everywhere. All right, here's a little bitty brush. Let's see what I can do here. I'm going to switch to this paint because that over there looks a little drier. I'm going to add a little bit of water to it. And what I want to do is I want to try to make a sweeping line across. And then if I don't have enough paint on it, I'll just come back to it in a minute. Oh, see, I did it pretty good that time at estimating it. All right, so I'm going to do that again. Little water. Roll my paintbrush around in the paint. Then I'm going to wipe a little bit of this off because it looked like a lot, because I want the lines to kind of get gradually bigger. All right, so I'm just kind of judging, I'm just kind of eyeballing. I mean, if you want to measure, go for it. Get you a ruler and feel free to do that. And if you get a little bit too much, you could even do that, just kind of smear a bit. Okay, I'm going to go for water dip. Dip into the white paint and twist it off. Okay, now just kind of judge your line. Judge the line. All right, I'm going to do the same thing a few more times. I'm going to take some off and kind of see about filling in. Because the closer I get to the front the boulder, I want that line to appear. Just repeating that same process. Okay. And you can always just take it and look at it and then decide if it needs to have more or not. Okay, I'm going to go back over some of the white for the football. See if I can see my other white brush. If not, I have plenty of brushes. I'll just go for a new one. Here we go. All right, I'm going to draw this line around the stitching, and I'm going to choose to do it. I'm going to choose to do it with a pencil. You could do it with a fine line Sharpie. You could do it with the paint brush, but you'd have to have a really small one. My Sharpie is not doing its thing very good right now, so I think just doing that. Now you could do like sometimes I suggest even a colored pencil, a black colored pencil. Oh, and then we have that line, the seam line on the ball. All right, now I want to make these stitching marks here. Let's see if I can do it right here. Twist my brush. If you can make just a slight curve in that, that's going to help the ball feel round. Anybody out there ever gotten a signed ball for one of the players? It's kind of fun. I know the boys at school used to have a ball talking about the memorabilia that they had that had gotten signed by the players. It's nice when the players take time for that. Just looking at my ball, I think it needed that to kind of shore up this side a little more. All right. Now, while I'm waiting for some other things to dry, I'm going to turn it upside down. I think I will start with my first yellow layer. All right, just looking to see which paintbrush I have that I might like to use for that. And I think I'm just going to go, this is just going to be the yellow as it stands, just out of the container. You're going to have a little bit of grayish that's going to show through there probably. You just want to have random across. You want the variety, but yet you want the unity of it being all the way across. And I realize some people are better at that than others. I think if you'll stand back from your painting, like my college professor always talked about, I think that helps your eye realize what it is that it really looks like from across the room. You know, he was talking like, you know, you ought to be 6-10 feet back. I used to tell the kids, because I didn't want them up 6 feet away from each other in the room, but I had them have the person across the table hold it up for a minute so they could see theirs, see what it looked like. All right, I'm going to blow dry a bit because I want to keep making some layers there. Okay. I want to take and put a little bit of red in here. Just a little red. Make some, kind of getting a little bit more of a, almost a mustardy color there. Which sometimes we see that, kind of a golden color with the chiefs. Oops, I guess that brush is kind of in the way there. See, the main thing with this is you want it to be fairly small. It helps if it's a little on the circular side. However, because we've seen pictures of people at games, and the pictures from way far back are, as my art teacher said, our mind takes over and tells us what that should be, even though we don't see any faces on it. We might also, be reminded of scenes that we've seen when the Chiefs or the Royals have won. I know for the Royals it's been a while back, but when they were down there in front of Union Station, what an awesome view that is to see all the local people supporting their team. Okay, I'm going to put a little more red in there. I'm trying to get to a more golden color. Now see, I have some that, it's really old paint, and I came up with it without that. My tube's about empty. Besides, I want to show you that you don't have to have that. That's why I didn't use it. So I don't want you to think you have to have it. So dab, 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 dab. I got to get this dabbed real good because we're going to be out of time. Dab, 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 a dab, a dab, dab. Makes me think of other songs I've heard before. Dab, 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 a dab, a dab, a dab, a dab, a doo. So maybe you could make up a game. Count how many dots. No, you might get bored then. Just keep going and going and going, because look at the difference it makes. Just keep going and going. It'll make a difference in the end, in the end, in the end. All right, let's do some red ones. It'd help if I could keep up with the brush I was using a while ago. Now sometimes I make it just a little bit more textured here on the ones on the top. Just raise them up a bit. I'm trying to, have a variety across here. Accomplish that, rhythm, a nice rhythm, a balance. Maybe somebody's looking, I sat there. Oh, you were by me, so you're right there. Maybe you had a special sign with you and you want to put that in your painting. Maybe you'll think of some more details you might put on this. You might be able to put a little something else that we haven't thought of. I want to do the same thing with some yellow. Make it a little blobbier here on the top. And I may be touching the yellow again from underneath to do that, because yellow just doesn't have the opaqueness that the red does, or the other colors that we put on there. Okay, I'm still dabbing. Dab, 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 a dab, a dab, a doo. That's almost something from childhood there on a song. A lyric from a cartoon, maybe. We're getting close. I think we're getting close. All right. Just about there, guys. Well, it's been fun celebrating the home team. And of course, you could change it for whatever home team you want that to be. So this is Sarah Poff, the multimedia storyteller, and that's a wrap.